You didn't click this by accident. Something inside you brought you here tonight. Maybe your heart feels restless. Maybe your home feels heavy. Maybe your soul has been whispering, there's something wrong, but I don't know what it is. You tried everything. You cleaned, you prayed, you smiled, but the air still feels cold. People told you, mix salt with this herb and the evil will leave. And maybe tonight you're ready to try anything. But what if I told you that the real impurity isn't around you, it's inside you? What if what you've been calling evil energy was really the weight of forgotten prayers, unforgiven pain, and memories you never healed from? You see, salt can cleanse the floor. Herbs can scent the air, but only remembrance can cleanse the soul. Because evil doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it hides in silence, in the words you didn't say, in the pain you buried, in the anger you never released. And Allah, sometimes He lets you feel that darkness so you'll finally look for His light again. So tonight, when you hold that salt, don't see superstition, see surrender. Say in your heart, my Lord, I know this isn't the cure. You are, because when the heart remembers its creator, even the unseen bows in silence. And when light enters, darkness has no right to stay. This isn't just another video. This is a conversation between your soul and its source. A story about fear, cleansing, protection, and peace. And if you stay till the end, you'll understand something that most people never do. That Allah never needed the salt or the herb. He only needed your attention. Stay with me till the end, because by the time this ends, you won't just have a cleaner home, you'll have a lighter heart. The real purifier is not in your hand, it's in your heart. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes we look for answers in the simplest things around us. We hear someone say, mix a little salt, add a little herb, and all the problems will disappear. And we want to believe it because the heart is tired, the mind is heavy, and we just want peace. But the truth is softer and deeper than that. Nothing that sits in your hand can do what only faith can do inside your heart. The mixture in the bowl may look small, but the belief in your chest is what decides whether your home is safe. Think about it. The same salt you hold tonight came from the earth. The same earth your Lord created with one command. If He can bring oceans to life, can He not cleanse your home with a single moment of remembrance? Salt can wipe away stains. It can keep food from spoiling. It can chase away smells. But only the mention of your Lord can chase away what your eyes cannot see. When the tongue forgets Him, darkness grows quietly. But when the tongue remembers Him, light begins to move through the air like a calm breeze. You see, it isn't the grain of salt that has power. It is the heart that trusts the one who made it. Every object you touch is only a creation, but you have been given something more precious. The ability to call the Creator directly when you pick up that salt tonight. Pause for a moment. Look at it. Think of how tiny each grain is, and yet in every grain there is a lesson. That strength does not come from size, but from purpose. If you hold it while remembering Allah, even this simple act becomes an act of worship. But if you hold it believing it alone will protect you, you have placed your hope in something powerless. So whisper softly, my Lord, let this remind me of you as I clean me. As I wipe this place, wipe away my fears. When you do that, something beautiful happens. The walls do not just shine with polish, they begin to echo peace. The air feels different. It's as if every corner of the room sighs with relief because the heart of its owner turned back to its maker. People think their homes are haunted by things outside, but most of the time the heaviness we feel comes from the noise within us. We fill our lives with anger, with worry, with greed, and then wonder why the space feels dark. Darkness does not live in walls. The probatin in kafma anaman anamma anaman anamma anaman anamma anamana anaman. It lives in hearts that have forgotten light. When you remember Allah, light enters again. The same house that once felt cold begins to feel alive. The same silence that frightened you starts to feel peaceful. That's what happens when the Creator is remembered inside His creation. Sometimes you might wonder why certain homes feel calm. It's not the design. It's not the perfume. It's the remembrance that lives there. When people pray, when they forgive, when they speak kindly, even in anger, the walls remember, and those memories become protection. You can have expensive furniture and still feel restless. You can have broken tiles but sleep with ease. Because peace doesn't come from things. Peace comes from the one who gives meaning to things. If you've ever felt scared or uneasy, stand in your home and speak to your Lord. Say what's in your heart. Tell Him you feel weak. Tell Him you want to be safe. And as you do, imagine His mercy flowing like gentle light through every corner of that room. You don't need to shout. You don't need candles, smoke, or chants. Just sincerity. Because sincerity is louder than any sound. It reaches where words cannot. There was once a time when you cleaned your home only to impress guests. Now clean it to invite peace. There was once a time when you decorated walls to make them beautiful. Now decorate your heart so that your home glows from within. If you could see what your Lord sends, every time you remember Him, you would never stop. Angels gather quietly. Mercy moves like sunlight, and the unseen becomes gentle. So take that small bowl in your hand. Smile at it because it reminds you of how small everything is next to your Lord's power. Then begin cleaning not just with motion, but with devotion. As your hands move, let your heart move too. From fear to faith, from doubt to trust. You might notice something strange. The same chores that once felt tiring now feel peaceful. The same space that once felt empty now feels full. That is not the salt working. That is the heart healing. Sometimes peace does not arrive as a sound. It arrives as a silence that finally feels safe. It arrives as the weight on your chest slowly lifting. It arrives as a moment where you realize you are being watched, not by harm, but by mercy. And once that peace touches you, you understand what true purification means. It is not about chasing evil away. It is about inviting goodness in. Because when goodness fills a space, darkness finds no room to stay. So the next time you hear someone say, mix this and evil will leave, smile gently and think to yourself, no, my friend, evil leaves when I remember who created me. Because when the Creator is mentioned, creation becomes calm. When faith walks through the door, fear walks out quietly. When you remember Allah, fear loses its home. My dear brother, my dear sister, fear is something every heart understands. You can hide it from people, but you can't hide it from yourself. It sits quietly in the chest. It waits in the corners of your thoughts. And sometimes it wakes you in the middle of the night. For no reason at all, you feel uneasy. You look around your home and think, why does everything feel heavy? Why do I feel watched, uncomfortable, unsafe? And the mind begins to imagine things. Maybe it's jealousy. Maybe it's evil. Maybe it's something unseen. But the truth, my dear friend, is that fear only finds a home where remembrance has gone silent. The Prophet of Allah taught us something beautiful. When the name of Allah is mentioned, the hearts become calm, the air becomes peaceful, and the whispers of fear disappear. It is as if light walks in and darkness quietly slips out the back door. You see, fear and faith cannot stay in the same place. When one enters, the other leaves. And that is why remembrance is not just worship, it is protection, it is healing, it is the medicine the soul keeps asking for. Sometimes we forget that fear feeds on emptiness. When your heart is empty of remembrance, it becomes a room with no light, and every shadow looks bigger than it really is. But the moment you remember Allah, it's like switching on a lamp. The shadows don't disappear because you fought them. They disappear because the light arrived. So the next time fear begins to whisper, don't argue with it. Don't panic. Just pause. Close your eyes for a moment and remember your Lord. Say quietly, He knows me, He sees me, He is with me. And you'll feel it, that invisible weight starting to lift. Many people think protection comes from the outside. They look for charms, for people to recite something for them, for objects to keep nearby. But real safety starts inside you when your heart is full of remembrance. Evil can stand at your door but never walk in, because a house filled with light does not invite darkness. Think of fear like smoke. You don't fight smoke with your hands. You open a window and let air in. Remembrance is that window. It lets peace in, and fear drifts out on its own. Some of the most peaceful people you'll ever meet have faced the most frightening moments, but they kept saying, my Lord is with me. They walked through fire and came out calm because their faith burned brighter than the flames. You can have that same calm. You just have to invite it in through remembrance. When you wake up in the morning, start with gratitude. When you walk through your home, speak kindness. When the day feels heavy, whisper a prayer. You'll notice that the same walls which once made you uneasy will start to feel gentle again. Fear grows where silence lives. But when the sound of prayer fills the air, there's no space left for worry. Even your heartbeat feels different, steady, safe, peaceful. Sometimes people tell me, I recite, I pray, but I still feel scared. And I say, my dear, don't stop. Fear doesn't leave all at once. It fades layer by layer. Every time you remember your Lord sincerely, keep going. Because every moment of remembrance is like another light switched on. You may not see the change immediately, but heaven and earth see it. Angels draw closer. Mercy descend. And slowly your heart begins to trust again. Fear also grows from memory. The memory of something that hurt you. Maybe you were betrayed. Maybe you lost something. Maybe you were alone when you needed someone most. And now every small sound reminds you of that pain. But the remembrance of Allah heals memory. It tells the heart, yes, that happened, but your Lord never left you. When you remember that truth, you start to breathe differently. You stand taller, you smile easier, because you realize that the one who protected you then is still protecting you now. There's a verse that says, the hearts find rest in remembrance. You don't need to know the words in Arabic to feel it. You've lived it. Every time you've whispered His name in tears and felt calmer, you've already witnessed it. And when the heart finds that peace, fear packs its bags. It has no home left, because a heart that remembers its Creator is already filled. There's no room left for anything else. Even the unseen fears, the kind that come without reason, disappear quietly when you live in gratitude. You start to notice blessings again. You start to see protection in places you never noticed. You realize that the small delays in life, the sudden changes, the strange moments of waiting, they were all part of His plan to move you away from what would harm you. That realization is what kills fear completely, because fear lives in uncertainty and faith teaches you that nothing is uncertain when Allah is in control. So tonight, when you walk through your home, don't rush. Look around with calm eyes. Breathe and let your heart whisper, my Lord, this is your space. Fill it with peace. Every word of remembrance is like a brick of protection you are placing around yourself and your loved ones. Remembering Allah doesn't only mean praying long prayers. It means living with awareness. It means doing your work honestly. It means speaking truthfully, forgiving easily, helping quietly. All of that builds light around you. And when light surrounds you, the darkness of fear doesn't know where to go. It simply fades. Not because you fought it, but because it cannot breathe in an air filled with faith. The evil you fear outside often lives inside. My dear brother, my dear sister, there are times when you feel something is wrong around you. You sense a strange heaviness. You feel people's eyes on you. You start to wonder, is someone jealous of me? Is there evil near me? And slowly fear begins to grow. It follows you from room to room. It sits at the edge of your thoughts. We live in a world that constantly tells us to look for the problem outside. If you fall sick, you suspect someone's envy. If you lose something, you suspect someone's curse. If your peace is gone, you blame an unseen hand. But very few stop and ask, what if the darkness is not out there? What if it's something that has been growing quietly inside me? You see, the most dangerous kind of evil does not come through a door or a window. It enters through a wounded heart. It grows through anger, jealousy, pride, arrogance, gossip. And these things do not knock before they enter. They live with us silently. A person can lock their house from the world, but if they leave their heart unlocked to envy and hatred, darkness still finds a place to live. That is why the Prophet of Allah taught us that every day we should clean our hearts the same way we clean our homes, because dust gathers quietly. And before you realize it, it covers everything. So before you run to find someone who has harmed you, look inwards. Ask yourself, have I harmed my own peace? Am I holding anger that I never released? Am I keeping grudges that have hardened over time? Am I comparing my life to someone else's and letting jealousy poison my joy? When you start asking these questions, you begin to see the truth. Many of the wounds you feel were not caused by others. They were caused by your own unhealed emotions. Sometimes the evil we fear is simply the reflection of what we refuse to fix. You can pray for protection 1,000 times, but if you continue to feed resentment, you are planting the very tree you are asking to be removed. My dear friend, listen carefully. A heart that carries hatred cannot carry peace at the same time. The two cannot share the same space. If you allow hatred to stay, peace will quietly leave. If you invite peace in, hatred will find the door by itself. The same is true with jealousy. When you constantly look at what others have, you become blind to what you have. And then life feels unfair. You start to complain, to wish for more, to forget gratitude. That is when the heart becomes heavy, and heaviness always attracts darkness. You might not realize it, but negative thoughts are like smoke. They fill the mind, they make it hard to breathe, and you try to fan them away by blaming the world outside. But the only way to clear smoke is to open the windows, and those windows are remembrance and gratitude. The moment you remember Allah sincerely, the smoke begins to thin. The moment you thank Him, fresh air enters. And little by little, the heaviness starts to lift. Sometimes the person you dislike the most is not evil. They are simply showing you a mirror to your own impatience, your own pride. When you learn to look at that reflection with honesty, the heart becomes lighter. It realizes that the battle was never me versus them. It was me versus the worst part of myself. The world outside is a test, yes. But the world inside you is the greater test. And whoever wins that inner battle finds peace everywhere they go. You can run away from people, but you can't run away from your own thoughts. Wherever you go, they travel with you. That's why it's better to fix the inside than to keep changing the outside. Think about it this way. If there's a strange smell in a room, you can spray perfume, but if the source of the smell is inside a closed drawer, it will return again and again. You must open the drawer, remove what is rotting and clean it. Only then will the air stay fresh. The same goes for the heart. Forgive the one who hurt you. Apologize to the one you hurt. Pray for those you envy. And you will feel something beautiful. Peace returning like sunlight through a window. The Prophet of Allah once described the pure heart as a white page, and every sin, every anger, every lie as a small dot of darkness. If we do not clean it, those dots grow until the page becomes black. But when we repent, when we forgive, the page turns bright again. That is real cleansing. There is also another kind of evil we ignore, the evil of neglecting ourselves. When you stop taking care of your soul, when you stop feeding your faith, when you allow laziness to keep you away from prayer, the emptiness that grows inside feels just like an attack from outside. But in truth, it is only the hunger of the soul. Feed it with remembrance. Feed it with good company. Feed it with gratitude. And you'll see that what once felt like harm was only your soul asking to be healed. The hardest truth to accept is that sometimes we are the storm we keep praying to escape. But the moment you accept that, the wind begins to calm, because humility invites mercy. And when mercy enters, everything changes. If you want to know how pure your heart is, notice how you speak about others. When your words carry compassion, your heart is healthy. When they carry poison, your heart is sick and needs cleansing. The tongue is the thermometer of the soul. It shows what temperature your faith is running at. So watch your words, watch your thoughts, watch your reactions. Every time you choose patience over anger, you drive one nail of light into the coffin of darkness. Every time you choose forgiveness, you open a window for peace to enter. And when you do this often enough, your inner world becomes so bright that the outer darkness can no longer touch you. If you want Allah to protect you from harm, be the kind of person He wants to protect. Be honest, even when it's hard. Be kind, even when it hurts. Speak the truth, even when no one claps for it. These small acts build walls stronger than stone. Inna anna. Sometimes people ask, why do bad things keep happening to me? And the answer may not be punishment. It might be purification. Allah loves you enough to clean you. Before He blesses you, He lets you see the dust in your heart, so that you don't enter the next stage of your life carrying it. He exposes the hidden corners so that you can fill them with light. That's why the tests keep returning, not to break you, but to rebuild you. He knows what kind of person you are capable of becoming, and He uses hardship to reveal it. So, the next time you feel the weight of fear, ask yourself gently, what am I still holding inside? Is it anger? Is it pride? Is it guilt? Is it envy? Name it, bring it out and release it. Because when you empty that space, light finds a place to stay. Where there is remembrance, darkness cannot stay. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes life feels heavy without any clear reason. You wake up and the air itself feels thick. You walk through your home and sense that something has changed. The silence doesn't feel peaceful anymore. It feels hollow. You pray, but your heart feels distracted. You speak, but the words don't carry warmth. You sit among people, yet deep inside you feel alone. That heaviness, that unseen weight is not always because of what people have done to you. Often it comes from something simple yet forgotten, the absence of remembrance. Because where there is remembrance, light lives. And where there is light, darkness cannot breathe. Every home that remembers its creator becomes a fortress, not because of locks or walls, but because peace stands guard at the door. The mention of Allah, the gentle whisper of gratitude, the quiet sigh of forgiveness, the silent tear of repentance. These are lamps that keep the shadows away. When the heart goes silent in remembrance, darkness finds a way in. It begins as restlessness, a tiny unease you cannot name. Then it grows. You start to feel impatient, short-tempered, hopeless. The same home that once felt full of love now feels like an empty space. Nothing outside has changed. It's the light inside that has dimmed. Remember, my beloved, darkness doesn't need much to survive. Only silence from your heart. The moment you stop mentioning your Lord, the world around you starts whispering other things. You begin to chase distractions, to fill your time with noise, to look for peace in what was never meant to hold it. But the moment you sit down quietly and say with sincerity in your heart, "My Lord, I have not forgotten you," a softness returns. It's like the first breath after being underwater. You realize peace was never gone. You had just stopped listening to it. There is a stillness that comes with remembrance, not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness of safety. It's when your soul stops running, when your mind stops arguing, when your heart finally says, "I am whole." Every time you remember Allah, the unseen responds. Angels draw near, mercy flows, and the air begins to change. You might not see it with your eyes, but your soul feels it immediately. The anxiety that once pressed on your chest starts to loosen. The fear that followed you at night starts to fade. The silence becomes sweet again. Many people think remembrance means sitting for hours and reciting long phrases. But true remembrance is much simpler. It's in the moment you look at the sky and say from your heart, "What a beautiful creation." It's when you stop yourself from gossiping because you remember that He hears. It's when you forgive someone because you want to be forgiven too. Safara. That too is remembrance. Every act of goodness done for His sake is a light that pushes darkness out of your life. When you make remembrance part of your day, you begin to see blessings you once ignored. The water you drink feels sweeter. The meals taste fuller. Even the smallest kindness feels like an answered prayer. Because remembrance doesn't change what you have. It changes how you see it. A home that forgets its creator becomes a place of noise and complaint. People argue, hearts harden, and peace quietly leaves through the window. But a home that remembers its creator becomes a sanctuary. Even when there are tears, they fall with hope. Even when there is loss, it feels temporary, not eternal. Because everyone in that home knows darkness has no right to stay. Where light is constantly renewed. If you could see what happens each time you mention your Lord's name sincerely, you would never stop. Imagine a single beam of light shooting upward every time you remember Him. Now imagine thousands of such beams rising from hearts around the world. That's what remembrance does. It connects heaven and earth. The reason some people carry peace wherever they go is because they keep that connection alive. Even when they face pain, they whisper gratitude. Even when they are alone, they talk to the one who never leaves. That conversation fills the air around them with calm. So wherever they walk, the atmosphere changes. You can become one of those people. It starts with the simplest habit. Keep your heart awake. When you eat, thank your Lord. When you lie down, trust Him with your sleep. When you wake up, greet the morning with His remembrance. When you make a mistake, return to Him immediately. The more you do this, the less space fear has to live. Darkness feeds on forgetfulness, but it starves in remembrance. When your lips mention your Lord, your soul shines. and everything around you starts to mirror that light. You notice that arguments end faster. The house feels calmer. The children sleep better. Even the walls seem to breathe differently, because remembrance doesn't only protect the soul, it protects everything the soul touches. When a father remembers his Lord, his home is blessed through him. When a mother remembers, her children inherit her peace. When a young person remembers, the future becomes bright. That is the chain of light that remembrance creates, one heart at a time. Sometimes people ask, how can I bring light back into my home? The answer is gentle. Bring back remembrance. Turn off the things that make you forget. Replace them with moments that make you reflect. Even a few minutes of sincere remembrance can undo hours of worry. Try this tonight. Before you sleep, sit quietly. Let the noise of the day settle. Think of one blessing you enjoyed today. Say, thank you, my Lord. Think of one mistake you made. Say, forgive me. Then sleep with that peace in your heart. When you wake up, you'll realize the morning feels lighter. You'll realize the darkness never had power. It only had permission to stay as long as you forgot. The home that remembers never feels empty. My dear brother, my dear sister, a house can be filled with furniture, lights and sound, yet still feel empty. You can have people sitting together at the same table, but each one lost in their own world. You can hear laughter echoing in the rooms, but deep down you sense something missing. That emptiness isn't always from what you lack outside. It often comes from what has been forgotten inside. The remembrance of the one who gave you everything. A home that remembers its Lord never truly feels lonely. Because when his name is spoken, angels gather quietly. When gratitude is whispered, mercy flows like light across the walls. Even silence feels alive. When it carries faith within it, there are homes that look grand from the outside. Perfect walls, perfect colors, perfect design. But the moment you step in, you feel tension, heaviness, distance. Then there are small homes, simple, old, perhaps even broken in places. Yet the moment you enter, your heart feels calm. That's the difference remembrance makes. Peace doesn't come from space. It comes from the state of the heart. And when the hearts in a home are connected to their Creator, when that home becomes a place of light, even if its lamps are few. Some people keep chasing decoration after decoration. Decoration imma abla man vitu bi ya'la illa even bivitu. Thinking beauty will make them happy. They keep buying new things, but they never feel satisfied. Because the soul does not feed on colors or shapes. It feeds on meaning. A home filled with meaning, kin words, patience, prayer, gratitude, shines brighter than one filled with gold. The smallest act of remembrance changes the atmosphere of your home. When a father whispers thank you before leaving for work, when a mother smiles in hardship and says, it's okay, he will help me. When children hear words of hope instead of anger, it's salamu ala minu min ala salamu ala mu'ala salamu ala salamu ala min. That is remembrance in action. It's not about how long you sit and recite. It's about how consciously you live. You can sweep the floor while remembering him. You can cook a meal while your heart praises him. You can fold your child's clothes and thank him for the blessing of those tiny hands. You can lie in bed after a long day and talk to him as if he's sitting beside you. That's how you fill a home with presence. Not through rituals, but through sincere hearts that don't forget who provides everything. When remembrance fills a house, love between people becomes softer. Even disagreements end with kindness, because everyone knows that the goal is not to win the argument. It's to keep the peace that their Lord loves. A home that forgets Allah slowly begins to lose its light. You can see it in the way people speak. Voices grow sharp. Small mistakes become big fights. No one wants to forgive first. Everyone wants to be right. And in that noise, mercy quietly leaves. But the moment someone remembers, everything changes. It doesn't even take all of them. Just one heart turning sincerely to its Lord can change the mood of the entire house, because light travels fast. It only takes a spark to break the dark. My dear brother, my dear sister, you don't need to turn your home into a shrine. You just need to make it a place where goodness feels welcome. When your house becomes a space where people are reminded of their Creator, every wall, every corner, every object becomes blessed. The food tastes different. The air feels lighter. Even the moments of sadness become easier to bear. Because a home that remembers Allah does not fear emptiness. It knows who fills it. Sometimes people say, I feel alone even when my family is around. And I tell them, maybe the hearts in your home are close in distance, but far in direction. When everyone chases the world, they walk different paths. But when everyone walks toward the Creator, their paths meet again at peace. Make your home the kind of place where people feel safe to speak without being judged, where kindness is stronger than pride, where gratitude is louder than complaint. That's how a house turns into a home. If you ever feel like something is missing, don't rush to change the walls or furniture. Add remembrance instead. Call His name while you clean. Play words of peace instead of noise. Let the sound of prayer be heard even once a day. It may seem small, but to the unseen world, it's enormous. Because every time His name is mentioned, light descends. And with that light comes protection, blessing, comfort, and calm. When you gather your family, talk about things that soften hearts, not harden them. Share stories that inspire, not gossip that destroys. Remind each other of what truly matters. That is what the Prophet of Mercy taught us, that the best family is the one that remembers Allah together. A home where remembrance lives becomes a safe place in a noisy world. Even when hardship knocks, it never finds despair inside. Because faith answers the door first. Faith says, come in, we will face this together. The storms outside may be loud, but the peace inside remains untouched. That's why some people lose everything and still smile. They know the secret. The house that remembers never feels empty, because the one who fills hearts with peace does not need a key to enter. He just needs an invitation. And that invitation is simple. It's a whisper that says, my Lord, you are welcome here. When that whisper becomes part of your daily life, you'll notice that fear begins to fade. Loneliness loses its hold. Suddenly, even when you're alone at home, you don't feel alone. You feel accompanied. You feel watched, not by harm, but by mercy. Sometimes we think that peace comes when we finally move into a better house, or earn more money, or travel somewhere new. But peace isn't a destination. It's a presence, and that presence begins the moment you remember the one who never leaves you. When you walk into a home where remembrance lives, you can almost feel it before anyone speaks. The walls seem to hold a quiet smile. The air feels light. Even the way sunlight falls through the window looks softer somehow. That's what faith does to a space. It turns ordinary air into comfort. It turns sound into calm. It turns every heartbeat into prayer. You don't have to be perfect to build such a home. You just have to be sincere. You just have to care more about peace than about winning every argument. You just have to remember your Lord. Even when you're tired, even when life feels heavy, even when no one else in the house seems to care. Because one heart remembering sincerely is stronger than 10 forgetting completely. Start small. When you wake up, whisper thanks. When you leave for work or school, say a quiet prayer for safety. When you sit down to eat, think of the hands that never stop feeding you. And when you return home in the evening, pause for a moment at the door. Tell your heart, I am walking into a place that belongs to the one who gave it to me. That single thought fills the space with light Darkness cannot live where gratitude breathes. It suffocates there. It looks for anger to feed on, for gossip to grow in, for pride to hide behind. But when gratitude fills the air, darkness finds no shelter. Try to make your home smell of mercy, not only through incense or perfume, but through gentle words. The smell of kindness lasts longer than any fragrance. A child who grows up hearing soft words of love carries that scent for life. A spouse who feels appreciated will reflect peace back into every room. Even your guests will leave remembering the calm. You can tell when a home is spiritually alive. People smile more easily. They help each other without being asked. Even in silence, the atmosphere feels warm, because remembrance is not only about words, it is about presence. It's about carrying awareness of Allah in everything you do. When the heart is connected to its creator, every movement becomes worship. You sweep the floor and He rewards you. You feed your family and He writes it as charity. You rest after a long day and He calls it gratitude, because He sees the intention behind every act. That awareness is remembrance too. And when remembrance becomes natural, you begin to notice how life itself changes. Problems still come, but they no longer destroy your peace. Loss still hurts, but it doesn't turn you bitter. Even tears feel different. They fall, but they bring relief instead of despair. That is what it means to live in a home that remembers. Sometimes you might sit alone in your room and wonder if your prayers matter. You might think no one hears you, but your Lord hears every whisper. He sees every moment. You choose patience when you could have chosen anger. He records every sigh that says, I trust you even when I don't understand. Inni ma'al amtab intaba. Those moments are not small. They are bricks of light, building your house from the inside out. And the more light you build, the less power darkness has. That's why the Prophet of Mercy taught us that the best of people are those who bring peace wherever they go. If you can make your home a place of peace, you have already succeeded in life. Even if you have little wealth, even if you struggle, if you and your loved ones can sit together with hearts at ease, you possess what kings search for, because peace is the highest luxury and remembrance is the key that opens its door. So if your home ever starts to feel cold, don't blame the walls. Warm it with faith. If the days start to feel repetitive, fill them with gratitude. If silence begins to sound like loneliness, turn it into reflection. Every time you do, you teach your soul to find company in your Lord. There will still be days of sadness. It's part of life. But even sadness feels lighter when the heart knows who to cry to. When tears fall in remembrance, they wash away fear instead of feeding it. And the home that witnesses such tears becomes purified too. Look around your home tonight. Maybe the lights are dim. Maybe the paint is peeling. Maybe the noise of the world echoes through it. But remember this, if His name is still mentioned here, you are richer than you think. Because you are living in a place where the King of all creation is welcome. Talk to your children about kindness. Talk to them about honesty, about forgiveness. Let them see you apologize when you're wrong. Let them hear you thank your Lord out loud. Those small lessons will build a generation that carries light wherever they go. That is how remembrance multiplies. From one home to 1,000. And when enough homes remember, even the world outside starts to heal. The streets feel safer. The air feels cleaner. Because the peace inside people's homes spills out into their communities. It becomes contagious. That's how Allah's mercy spreads. From one remembering heart to another. From one home filled with light to the next home across the street. You may not see the connection, but heaven and earth do. So tonight, don't worry about perfection. Don't think you must have it all figured out. Just begin. Begin with one sincere moment of remembrance. Begin with one small act of gratitude. Begin with one word of peace. And you will find that emptiness was never stronger than your faith, because the home that remembers never feels empty. The one who lives in that home might lose money, might lose people, may even lose everything once loved, but never loses peace. Because peace does not depend on what you own. It depends on who you remember. So when you walk through your home tonight, look at every corner and whisper from your heart, "My Lord, you are welcome here. Fill this place with your mercy." And then sit quietly, listen to the silence. You'll notice it's not really silent anymore. It hums softly with comfort, with unseen angels, with the gentle presence of the one who never leaves. And when you go to sleep, you will rest differently, because you will know the walls around you may be simple, but the peace inside them is priceless. The world outside may be chaotic, but the space within these walls is guarded by light. That is what remembrance does. It turns a house into a sanctuary. It turns fear into calm. It turns emptiness into fullness. And the one who fills it with peace will never allow darkness to stay. Your intention turns action into worship. My dear brother, my dear sister, so many people search for complicated ways to become better, to feel closer to their Lord, to feel that their daily life has purpose. But sometimes the greatest secret lies in something so small that we overlook it, the intention. You can do the same act as someone else, and both of you may look identical from the outside, but the reward, the light, the feeling, they will never be the same. Because the value of an action is not measured by how big it looks, but by what lives behind it. You see, the heart is like the seed of every deed. Whatever grows from it will take the color of its intention. If the seed is pure, the act will bloom with beauty. If the seed is selfish, even a generous act will wither. A person can smile just to appear kind, or smile because they know that every smile is charity. Two people may cook the same meal, but one cooks to feed a stomach and the other cooks to feed souls with care. One receives thanks from people that do, the other receives peace from Allah. That is what intention does. It turns ordinary moments into sacred ones. It turns every part of life into worship. You don't need to be in a mosque to be worshipping. You can be in your kitchen, your classroom, your workplace, your car. If your heart whispers, "I'm doing this to please my Lord," Inna aqulannaka man tabi, then that moment is already holy. So many of us wait for the big moments. We wait for Ramadan, for pilgrimage, for a grand project. But Allah looks at the quiet choices you make every day. He watches the intention behind your smallest act, because He knows that greatness often hides in simplicity. When you wake up in the morning and say, "Wala aminta," let today be a day of honesty, you've already begun your worship. When you decide to treat people kindly, not because they deserve it, but because your Lord loves kindness, that is worship. When you hold back your anger, not because you're weak, but because you know patience earns reward, that is worship. You might think you're just surviving another day, but your Lord is writing down worship for you in places you didn't even imagine. You see, intention is like fragrance. It doesn't change the shape of the flower, but it changes what the flower means to those around it. A simple flower can fill an entire room with sweetness. That's what sincerity does to your deeds. Sometimes you might wonder, how can I make my faith stronger? Start with your intention. Before every action, ask, "Why am I doing this?" And then whisper quietly, "For you, my Lord." You'll see how everything changes. The same job that once felt tiring starts to feel meaningful. The same chores that once felt endless begin to feel rewarding, because now they're no longer just tasks, they're offerings. even the smallest gesture, helping your parents, giving a little to someone in need, smiling at a stranger, being patient with your children, if done with sincerity, becomes written as worship in your book of deeds. Our Lord is so merciful that He rewards the thought before the action. If you plan to do good and something stops you, He still rewards you because He saw the sincerity in your heart. That's how generous He is. But when we do something good, only to be seen, only to be praised, only to be admired, we empty the act of its light. It becomes hollow. It may impress people for a moment, but it brings no peace to the heart. That's why the wise ones used to say, clean your intention before every step. Because every step walked with sincerity is a step toward peace. And the beauty of intention is that it transforms the ordinary. When you eat with gratitude, your meal becomes an act of worship. When you work honestly to earn a living, your effort becomes a prayer for blessing. When you rest because you need strength to serve your family or your community tomorrow, your rest becomes an act of faith. Every part of life can become sacred if your heart remembers who you are doing it for. You might think, but my deeds are small. Do not underestimate them. Allah is not looking at size. He is looking at sincerity. He can take a small act and multiply it beyond imagination. He can turn a single tear of remorse into a mountain of reward. Sometimes it's the deed nobody saw that changes everything for you in the hereafter. A single private moment, a silent prayer, a small kindness. You may forget it, but He never does. That's why it's so important to guard the purity of your intention because every good act begins inside the heart. Ardullahu ala addila anma atiba 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 atiba. And every corruption begins there too. If you feel your actions losing meaning, don't rush to do more. Pause and fix the why. When the why is right, even the smallest act shines bright. When the why is wrong, even the biggest act feels empty. So start your day by renewing it. My Lord, I'm living this day for you. Ar-Rahmatullahu alayhi wasallam. Say it with conviction. Let that intention be the compass that guides your choices, your tone, your patience, your forgiveness. And at night, before you sleep, think back over your day. Where did you remember Him? Where did you forget? And in the moments you forgot, seek forgiveness, and He will turn even your regret into reward. Sometimes you may feel tired of doing good. You give and people forget. You help and they take advantage. You smile and they ignore you, and you begin to think, what's the point? But when you remember why you did it, your strength returns. You didn't do it for them, you did it for the one who sees it all. Every act that is done sincerely leaves a mark that even time cannot erase. Maybe no one thanked you, but somewhere in the unseen, an angel recorded your effort. Maybe you cried quietly after being misunderstood, but your Lord counted every tear as proof of sincerity. That is why you must never let the reaction of people decide the purity of your intention. People change. He does not. When you act only for Him, you stay steady while the world moves around you. A pure intention is like a strong root. It holds the tree of your faith firm, even when storms come. And the stronger that root, the sweeter the fruit that grows from it. Think of the mother who wakes in the middle of the night to comfort her crying child. No one sees her. No one praises her. But every second of that patience is written as worship because she does it out of love and duty. For the sake of her Lord. Think of the worker who earns an honest living. Those shortcuts would make him richer. His hands are tired, but his heart is peaceful. Because he knows that every drop of sweat is more valuable than gold. When the intention is pure, think of the student who studies sincerely to serve creation, not just to gain status. Every page they read becomes an act of remembrance. Because knowledge sought for good is never wasted. Your life is already full of moments like these. You just have to see them as worship. If you help your neighbor because it pleases your Lord, that is worship. If you hold your tongue when angry because you want your Lord to be pleased, that is worship. If you forgive someone because you hope for forgiveness yourself, that is worship. You could be sitting quietly, simply thinking good thoughts about others, and your Lord is rewarding you. Because even thoughts, when guided by faith, carry value. Sometimes intention is tested in pain. When life becomes difficult, your true why is revealed. Do you still choose patience? Do you still choose gratitude? That's when sincerity shines the brightest. Even when everything is taken away, you still whisper, "My Lord, I am yours." And in that whisper lies a worship that angels admire. Sincerity doesn't mean perfection. It means you keep coming back to Him with honesty. You may stumble, you may forget, you may act for the wrong reasons sometimes, but the moment you realize it, you renew your intention and He renews your reward. Your Lord loves consistency. He loves the small deeds that are done with pure hearts. He looks for the quiet doers, the ones who serve without recognition, the ones who continue doing good even when no one is watching. One sincere act is worth more than 1,000 done for show, because the first one reaches heaven while the others stop at people's eyes. Guard your intention like a treasure. Check it often, just as you would check a lamp to see if the flame is still burning. If it flickers, protect it from the wind of pride. If it dims, feed it with remembrance. If it goes out, relight it with repentance. Keep that flame alive, and it will light your whole path. When you do something wrong and you feel regret, don't let shame silence you. Regret is proof that your heart still cares. Turn it into intention again. A new promise to do better. That moment of return is more beloved to your Lord than the person who never falls but forgets to feel. The beauty of intention is that it keeps growing even after you're gone. When you teach someone with sincerity, every good they do becomes a continuation of your act. When you give charity with a pure heart, every smile it creates becomes your reward. That's how intention multiplies. It's stretched beyond your lifetime. So ask yourself often, what kind of legacy am I building? A name remembered by people for a short while, or deeds remembered by your Lord forever? Because fame fades, but sincerity remains. You don't need to chase greatness. Just keep your heart honest. The rest will follow naturally. You'll notice your actions becoming lighter, your sleep deeper, your mind calm. Because sincerity clears the clutter of expectation. You stop performing for the world and start living for peace. And peace is the sweetest reward of sincerity. When you do things purely for Allah, you stop worrying about results. You plant the seed and trust the rain. You work and leave the outcome to Him. You give not because people deserve, but because He loves the giver. And that's when contentment enters. Quietly, deeply, permanently. Your life doesn't need to change overnight. Just change the intention behind it. Eat to gain strength to serve. Work to provide without deceit. Speak to heal, not to harm. Love to uplift, not to control. Serve to please your Creator, not to impress creation. Do that, and every breath becomes worship. Before you sleep tonight, reflect on your day. Think of one act you did for His sake alone. Thank Him for accepting it. Then think of one act you did for the wrong reason. Ask Him to forgive and purify it. In that moment, you will feel how close He truly is, listening, forgiving, and turning even your reflection into reward. My dear brother, my dear sister, The secret to a meaningful life is not in doing more, but in meaning more in what you do. Keep your heart sincere and you will find that worship never ends. Because everything done with a pure intention is already worship in disguise. Forgiveness cleanses what fragrance cannot. My dear brother, my dear sister, there are scents in this world that please the nose, but only forgiveness pleases the soul. You can perfume your home, burn incense, wash every wall till it shines, and still the air can feel heavy. If hearts inside that home carry resentment, anger has its own odor. It lingers in silence, in the words left unsaid, in the way two people avoid each other while pretending everything is fine. And no fragrance can cover that. Only forgiveness can. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is cleansing. It is washing the dirt that no one sees, the stains that sit on the heart. You may not see them in the mirror, but you feel them every time you pray. The heaviness, the tightness, that sudden wave of sadness. When you remember a name, that's what unforgiveness looks like inside the soul. We often think holding a grudge protects us. We say, if I forgive, they'll think they won. But forgiveness is not about them winning. It's about you healing. It's choosing to stop drinking poison, hoping someone else will fall sick. When you forgive, you let go of that poison. And the moment you release it, peace rushes in to take its place. Some people clean their homes every day, but they haven't cleaned their hearts in years. They spray kindness on the outside, but deep inside they hold resentment toward a parent, a sibling, a friend, a stranger. They've built invisible prisons and chosen to live inside them. But the key has always been forgiveness. My dear friend, you cannot fill a cup that's already full of bitterness. If you want Allah to fill your heart with peace, you must first empty it of hate. Forgiveness is that emptying. It's the silent act of making space for mercy. Sometimes you tell yourself, I can't forgive. What they did was too much. And you're right, maybe it was too much. But forgiveness doesn't mean saying it was okay. It means saying, I'm not going to carry this anymore. It's handing the pain back to the one who can judge fairly. It's freeing yourself from a weight that was never yours to hold forever. When you forgive, you don't erase what happened. You erase the power it has over you. The memory might stay, but the sting disappears. That's how you know you've truly healed. Look at nature. Rain doesn't choose where to fall. It cleanses everything it touches. Rooftops, soil, thorns, flowers. Forgiveness is the same. It doesn't wait for people to deserve it. It just flows. And through that flow, you become lighter. Forgiveness is also an act of faith, because when you forgive, you're saying, I trust that my Lord sees what I cannot fix. He will balance what I cannot. And that trust is powerful. It frees you from the need to fight every battle. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You replay your mistakes. You punish yourself for past words, for moments you wish you could undo. But holding that regret forever doesn't make you righteous. It only makes you tired. Your Lord already knows you're human. He wrote mercy before he wrote punishment. He waits for you to say, I'm sorry. Not so he can remind you of your failure, but so he can remind you of his love. When you forgive yourself, you allow his mercy to reach you fully. You may say, but I keep sinning. Then keep returning. Every sincere return is stronger than every fall. Because forgiveness, both giving and seeking, is not a one-time act. It's a way of living. A heart that forgives easily is a heart that breathes easily. It doesn't get stuck in yesterday. It wakes each morning fresh. It sees new chances everywhere. Think of those who hurt you. You might never get an apology from them. But if you wait for their apology to find peace, you are giving them control over your happiness. Take that power back. Forgive for your Lord, not for them. Say, my peace is more valuable than my pride. And watch how light fills the space where pain once lived. Some people will never understand your forgiveness. They will say you are naive, too soft, too kind. But softness is not weakness. The hardest hearts break first. The soft ones bend and survive. To forgive is to bend gracefully under the weight of pain and rise again stronger than before. The protector is always Allah. My dear brother, my dear sister, in this world, people hold on to many forms of protection. Some lock their doors at night. Some wear charms. Some trust people more than their Lord. But no wall, no chain, no person can guard you like the one who made you. The greatest peace you'll ever feel is not in knowing you are strong, but in knowing you are protected by the Almighty. Because the truth is, you cannot see every danger. You cannot predict every betrayal. You cannot fight every unseen force. Yet every breath you've taken until this moment was watched over by Him. There were accidents that almost happened but didn't. There were illnesses that touched others but skipped you. There were words meant to harm you that never reached your ears. There were nights you slept deeply while He stayed awake guarding your soul. If only you could see how many arrows He has deflected, how many storms He has softened, how many evils He has turned away quietly, without you ever knowing, you would fall in gratitude and never fear again. We live in an age of anxiety. People fear jealousy, loss, betrayal, unseen harm. They search for protection in rituals, forgetting that all protection begins and ends with Him. The heart that remembers its protector is already wrapped in armor. The heart that forgets is naked, no matter how many walls it hides behind. Every time you whisper His name sincerely, a shield forms around you. Not one that you can see with your eyes, but one that the unseen world respects. Because when Allah's remembrance fills the air, darkness bows and leaves. You don't need to chase the unseen. You need to strengthen the seen, your faith. You don't need to collect charms. You need to collect sincerity. You don't need to control outcomes. You need to trust the one who already does. Sometimes He removes people from your life suddenly and you feel hurt. But later you realize they were never meant to guard you. They were meant to teach you that protection was never in human hands. He takes away the false shelters so you can find the real one. He lets the wind blow through your life so you can see which roots were truly deep. Every loss that broke you was also a lesson that remade you to stop placing your peace in things that can vanish overnight. The Almighty has protected you since before you could walk. He protected you in the womb, in sickness, in confusion, in moments when you thought no one cared. Even when you walked toward harm, something unseen slowed your steps. Even when you trusted the wrong people, He quietly revealed their truth before they could destroy you. And sometimes, yes, He lets harm reach you. Not because He abandoned you, but because He wanted to rebuild you. He wanted you to see that your strength does not come from what surrounds you, but from who sustains you. When you realize that, you stop living in panic. You stop fearing the future. You walk through life calm because you know your back is guarded by the one who never sleeps, never forgets, never fails. The greatest security system on earth cannot protect a heart filled with fear, but a single whisper of faith, my Lord is with me, can silence an army of worries. You are not as unprotected as you think. You are wrapped in His decree, surrounded by angels you cannot see. Every day you wake up because He commands your soul to return to your body. Every breath you take is permission renewed from the one who owns life itself. So the next time fear begins to crawl into your mind, don't run to objects for comfort. Run to remembrance. Sit down, close your eyes and say softly, I am guarded by the Lord of the worlds. Feel that truth settle deep in your chest. It will calm you more than any remedy could. Because when the heart accepts that nothing happens without His will, it stops fighting shadows. You start to see wisdom where you once saw accidents. You start to feel safety even in uncertain moments. When you begin to live with that awareness, you no longer rush to blame others for every pain. You start to see that even the wounds were God's in disguise. The heartbreak that humbled you protected you from arrogance. The delay that frustrated you protected you from destruction. The silence that scared you protected you from voices that would have misled you. Every no from Allah is a form of protection you don't yet understand. He doesn't only protect you from people, He protects you from the version of yourself that might have forgotten Him if life had been too easy. Sometimes He closes doors to keep you inside safety. Sometimes He opens painful paths so you learn which roads lead to peace. That is why a believer, no matter how much they cry, never loses hope, because they know even the tears are guarded. When you truly believe that Allah is the protector, you stop trying to control everything. You do your best, but you hand the outcome back to Him. You trust His wisdom more than your own planning. You rest because you know He is still awake when you are asleep. Even when you feel alone, you are never alone. Even when you whisper in the dark, the one who created light hears you. Even when the world misunderstands your silence, He reads the language of your heart perfectly. Look back at your life. How many times did you think, this will destroy me? Yet here you are, still breathing, still standing, still somehow smiling again. That was not coincidence. That was protection. Protection doesn't always mean prevention. Sometimes it means survival. Sometimes it means transformation. He didn't always stop the storm. He taught you how to sail through it. He didn't always remove the pain. He made it the reason you began to pray. That too is protection. Every night you sleep without knowing how many dangers pass your window. Every morning you rise without realizing how many angels stood watch. The human mind cannot count the mercies that surround a single heartbeat. If He removed His protection even for a moment, the world itself would collapse. So instead of fearing the unseen, thank the one who commands it. Instead of collecting amulets, collect gratitude. Instead of worrying about what's next, remember who writes what's next. When you carry that certainty in your chest, you walk lighter. Your voice softens. Your prayers deepen because your trust becomes unshakable. And the more you trust Him, the more you feel His nearness. He is closer to you than your own fears. Before a threat reaches you, it passes through His permission. Before a whisper of harm touches your soul, He has already decided how much it can affect you and how much good will come from it later. That realization changes everything. You stop asking, why me? And start saying, guide me through it. You stop asking, when will this end? And start saying, strengthen me until it does. That is the mindset of someone who knows their protector. Even death, the thing most people fear, is not outside His protection. It is the gentlest transfer of custody from this temporary world to the everlasting care of your Lord. If He protected you in the womb, through childhood, through sin, through heartbreak and loss, do you really think He will abandon you at the end? Never. My dear brother, my dear sister, life will always have unknowns. You will never predict every test, never prevent every hardship. But if you keep your heart connected to the protector, you will always land safely, even when the landing looks rough. So tonight, before you sleep, place your trust back in His hands. Say quietly from your heart, my Lord, guard my home, my loved ones, my soul. Keep me safe from what I see and from what I cannot see. Then close your eyes, knowing that the one who never forgets is already watching over you. Tomorrow will arrive by His command. The air you breathe will still be His mercy. And no matter what the world plans, no one can touch you unless He allows it. And if He allows it, then it is for your growth, not your ruin. That is the golden whisper of faith. Akana, akana. You were never unguarded. You were never alone. The protector has always been Allah. Before you feared, while you feared, and long after your fears are gone. So walk in peace. Hold your head high. The one who guards the stars in their orbits is the same. One guarding your heart tonight. Nothing is safer than that. You've reached the end of this reminder, and maybe somewhere along the way, you realize this was never really about salt or herbs or rituals. It was about you, your heart, your peace, your unseen connection with the one who never stopped protecting you. Every time you felt something heavy around you, He was already guarding you. Every time you felt alone in your room, He was the quiet presence watching over you. And every tear that fell in secret was not lost. It was counted, stored, and returned as mercy. My dear brother, my dear sister, you don't need anything in your hands to remove evil. You need light in your heart. Because where there is remembrance, darkness simply cannot stay. Tonight, before you sleep, don't reach for an object. Reach for the one who created every object. Say softly, my Lord, make this home a place of peace. Remove what you dislike. Fill it with what you love, and then close your eyes in gratitude, knowing you are guarded. He protected you when you didn't know His name. He guided you when you were walking in circles. And even when you forgot Him, He never forgot you. So take a deep breath. This heaviness you've carried for so long, it's lifting now, because your faith is awake again. Remember, the salt may leave tomorrow, the herb will fade in scent, but the light of remembrance will keep shining long after. Keep it alive. Keep your home alive. Keep your soul alive. And if you ever feel fear again, don't look around. Look up. Whisper from your heart, my protector is still here. Because He always has been. He always will be. Now, let the silence return to your room. But this time, let it be a silence filled with peace. Let it remind you that the unseen has bowed and your home is no longer heavy. It's glowing because Allah was invited back in. And wherever Allah is remembered, darkness simply disappears.